Hey everybody, looks like we are live. Great to see everyone for this Wednesday evening. We made it to another week. Thank you so much for hanging out. We have Mr. John Diekman all the way from Wisconsin and Mr. Todd all the way from San Diego, California. Great to see you guys. How is work going there, uh, Mr. Diekman? I know you were working a lot of hours before. Brad, how you doing all the way from Manitoba, Canada? Great to see you. How are you, sir? So that is cool. We have a great group already. So that is fantastic. So today is part 5. And what I'm going to do, it looks like our white balance is off. So we're just going to hope that it fixes itself, right? Work is good, keeping him busy. Oh, definitely, Mr. Diekman. Busy is good, right? Sometimes. So I've been painting all day, and so now I'm just going to empty out the medium mixture. Mr. Eric, how are you today? Thank you so much. How's it going? How you been, sir? Eric, could you remind me where you're from? What state? I'm thinking like California. Let me see if I got that right, Eric. Or Midwest. Yeah, or the East Coast. Let's see. I have to get a paper towel. So let's see. Texas. Very cool. Very cool. Glad to have you here from Texas, Mr. Eric. Always a pleasure. Great to see you. And so remember, when we go from a darker value to a lighter value, you want to wipe out that cup because the darker ink is going to always contaminate the lighter ink, but not the other way around. So that's cool. Colette, how are you? All the way from Wisconsin. It's great to see you. So glad you're here, Colette. So you see, I get all that media mixture out of there because if I don't, I'm going to put the detail mixture and it's going to make it into a much darker value. Mr. Roy, Color Graphics, all the way from New Jersey. How are you, sir? Great to see you. Great group already. So I'm just putting some water in and I'm just going to basically get rid of any of that medium mixture that will contaminate the detail mixture I'm going to put in. Because right now we're going to start working on her hands a little bit, you know, get them going. So that's cool. And let's see here. So now we'll just get some of this detail mixture. Let me cover up the water. Let's see, I just seen the detail mixture about 13 seconds ago. Here it is. Like I said, when these get really low, I want you to use them up right away or draw them out because there's a lot of air that can get in there and they could dry out. So when they get low, either use them or just throw them out. I'm talking like really low towards the bottom. So right now I'm doing detail mixture just straight, so that's not the lightest. I usually go in the very beginning, detail mixture, mix it, 4 drops of water, 4 drops of detail mixture. Okay, so, alright, so let me get my Ink Flingers airbrush glove here. Great, and let's see. So now I'm going to get my reference and I'm going to start. Mr. Dwayne, how are you? Great to see you, Mr. Marshall. All the way from Central California. Did you guys get snow? Because I heard you guys had some crazy weather this week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, California had like blizzard warnings. I've seen it all, right? So that is something. So let me see, maybe I can just darken her up just a tad here. And let's see if I have any stencils to keep it clean here. Okay, so I'm looking for a stencil for the hand only or maybe even the background. Let's see. So right here, so what I like to do at times is have multiple stencils, and let's see how this works here. And I think that's the case here. We're going to have little multiple stencil action. There we go, yes. So you see we have this dark right here, the negative spaces. So that's going to work out perfectly for us. And we have some hair negative spaces as well, which is definitely going to make our life a little easier. And that's what it's, you know, that's not what it's about, but it helps when you make your life a little bit easier, you know. And so great group here. Dwayne says they did get snow. Looked at the beach to the west and snow to the east. Crazy weather, right? We just had our first snowstorm in New York, and we're supposed to get it. We're supposed to have like close to 30 inches right now, and we had our first snowstorm of like 3 inches. We didn't have anything all year, so everything's upside down. Weather-wise, that is. Okay, so now I am going to put on my glasses. And we are going to make me smaller, and let's see if I can come in and bring in the picture of her so you can see what we're doing. There she is. Okay, we're going to work on this hand right here. Let me get my reference. So what I want to do is work on this negative space. I'm going to get a couple of magnets to make sure I don't get any underspray, you know. The last time it snowed there was in '89. Wow, that was a little while ago. And this is a nice even gray. So I'm just going to be about 6 inches away. I'm just going to hit that, get that nice even gray there. And remember, the adjacent shapes often describes the shapes rather than the shape itself. So that's going to help describe that hand, which is very good. The hand is covered, the hair is covered, but she does have this little sweater here. So let's go ahead and spray that sweater. Bring these magnets over to the edge. I'm going to be a little further away. And so great group. I'm glad everyone is here today. Thank you so much for hanging out, spending some time with little old me. I appreciate that. I look forward to these sessions with gusto. As you can see, I don't want to oversaturate, but I'm just going to begin that sweater. It has a little bit of a texture and a pattern, but I'm going to wait on that. And now we can go over to the other hand on this side. Let me move her over here. So we are going to be on this side, and we have this negative space right here, but it's not as cut and dry as this side, that's for sure. And so let's see, do I have my freehand shield? Yes, I do. And so let's move on over to the other side. It's all about patience, right? You have to have patience when doing this. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. This right here is lighter. So we want to cover up what's lighter and darken that up. So right here, see if I could put one of these small magnets right here. Just like so. And it's a little bit darker. So we're getting a nice gradation in this area. Then we can move some of these magnets in place to keep that underspray from occurring. Let's move this over. We want to get that real nice dark right here. Just right here. And then there's this really nice dark by her ring, very small. We'll put that in. And this is really going to help define those hands, right? That's what we want to do. And let's see what else. Okay, so we have this right here. Let's see if we can go ahead and work on the dark of her sweater here. So we have all these magnets. We can definitely keep things from getting undersprayed. And let's see where else. Right here. Okay. We'll just spray this down. Okay, so now we have this negative space to help describe her finger and her fingernail right there. And then we can put this one right there. There. So right here we can just darken that. Make sure you have those freehand shields right close. And if it's something that's like really, really close, you can use the back of a paintbrush. There we go. And we have a dark right here. I'm just going to claw along the surface here. There we go. And where else do we have something where we can define? Okay, right here where her mouth is, I could come right up to that edge because her teeth are covered. And always do the 1 second rule. We're never excused from the 1 second rule. Remember that. Okay, right over here. Okay, so now we're here. We're going to go back to where her outfit right here. You can barely see it, but it's there. Just want to make sure we don't get any underspray. Okay. Lower that air pressure a little bit. Get this little pattern here. Right there. It's very minor, but those minor things, a lot of them. Hey Nick, how you doing? Great to see you, sir. How have you been? So glad you're here. Nick, where are you from once more? I always want to get where you guys are from, so at least you know that I'm paying attention. You guys are all important, guys and girls. Okay, so let's see if I can darken this edge right here. Right in here, we have this dark edge. There we go. We can come back to this, where her fingers are. There we go. Great. Nothing over here. So let's lift this up. Just be one quick moment. See how good or bad it looks. Oh, that's right. Minnesota. That's so cool. Now, are you near Minneapolis, sir? That part of Minnie? And then when I lift this up, we should have the hands a little better defined in what we have to do. And hopefully everything came out well. Let's see. Okay, yes, nice definition. So that did help us, which is always good. And even in this outfit there, see if I can just darken that up just a little bit. Move her over here. Nope. Okay, great, like that. Great. Maybe darken it just a tad. Darken her just a tad. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the hands on camera right. So we're going to need our freehand shield for that. Oh, so Nick is north about 20 minutes from St. Paul. Oh, cool. That's beautiful up there. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to get the edge of this finger here. So that's going to be tricky, but we're okay with tricky. And so there's this edge right here. There we go. So you see I'm getting the edge of her finger. And we'll do that again. There we go. So just putting that edge on her finger. So remember what I talked about where we use the stump, and it's better to use a stump that has some graphite on it. And then what I can do is I could kind of have a sneak peek of what it's going to look like when I come in with the airbrush and the India ink. And then we have this coming up over here, just a little bit darker up there. And right on the edge here. And then this comes down past the ring. And right there, like so. And I could lighten this up because right now I could say, hey, that doesn't look right. So I can take my kneaded eraser and I can kind of clean up a little bit, which is not bad. raise that air pressure a little bit. Make sure we don't have any tip dry. Okay, so now we're kind of showing that one finger, and now we can kind of put a little shadow on her index finger. Kind of bring those, you can really see those fingers coming together here. So we're really light, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I dilute it. We need this lighter because we're working in this light area. I was going to work darker, but this is super light, so I'm going to dilute it 1-to-1 with water. Okay. And put the cap back on. Okay, cool. All right, let's take a look. Much better. See, now I can come in and get these little tiny wrinkles in her fingers. Okay, so now we have this ring here. Let me zoom in. Okay, we have this dark coming right here. And of course a nice shadow. And let's use our freehand shield. So we're getting that definition in her hand there. And always double check your drawing. So always, always, never trust that everything is perfect. So I'm going to, so this finger, I'm not too happy with the drawing here, but let me get my aggressive eraser. Let's see. So this hand comes out as opposed to what I had where it just sort of went flat, but that's not how it goes. So always double check. Much better. And now I can erase. And I could definitely see how it comes in, like right here, almost straight up and down, and then just juts out, just like that. And just paying attention. There we go. So that looks good. Once I have it where I'm happy with it, then I could get rid of, hey Wendy, how are you? Great to see you. How is your mom feeling, Wendy? And again, I'm going to really check the drawing. There we go. And then we'll cover this up and move these magnets out of the way. Sometimes the magnets get in the way of your freehand shield, so definitely have to get rid of them. Oh, I'm so sorry she's still in pain. The doctors know what's wrong? Goodbye. Goodbye magnets. Sometimes, right? Sometimes they get in the way, the magnets. Oh, I pray they find out soon that it's nothing and they could fix it with medicine. Okay, so we're just going to make sure we get those separation of those fingers, but I can't erase it yet, unfortunately, because remember, if we do, it's going to be wet paper and it could damage the paper, and that would be horrible. So you're having weird weather. You guys getting cold or warm weather? I hear there's going to be really warm because there's tornado warnings. So you have to be careful. There's tornado warnings down there for tomorrow, I think. Okay, so we could darken up the hair right next to her fingers. But I don't want the fingers to just look like tubes, right? We got to get the anatomy correct. So this digit kind of comes in, then this goes out. So we have to get the calligraphy of her fingers and the digits. Her hands are pretty important in this pose, so we don't want to take it lightly. Okay, don't want to take them lightly. There we go. And then right here, her fingernails are pretty light, so we're just going to make sure we lighten up those fingernails. There we go, or the fingernail in this case. And hey Dennis, how are you? Good to see you, sir. All the way from Texas. So Wendy and Dennis are from Texas. Let's see, who else? Nick is from Nick is from Minnesota, and Eric's from Texas. So we have Eric, Wendy, and Dennis, all from Texas. Very cool. So we got a real good Lone Star State connection. So I love that. Very cool. So good to see you, Dennis. And as you can see, things are, we're working on this slowly. There's no rush, of course. And we got to get her fingers working. So right here. And we got all the time in the world to fix these fingers. We could definitely get rid of the negative space so we can put in those little wrinkles in her hand. And Wendy says she looks amazing, would freak out with hands. You do great with hands. And we'll just work on this here. There we go. And right here, there's some negative space. We're going to get the negative shape here. Actually, on this here, it's darker inside this finger. Just inside that finger, it's darker, so we'll put that in. All the way down, pretty much, maybe over here, it's darker on the outer edge. So you got to kind of guess, like, okay, is it darker on the inside or the outside of that finger? And then we could come down. And like I always say, I want to thank God for the ability to have the lights and the apartment and everything. Thank you so much. And it's always a privilege to be here with you guys, so thank you. But I always want to thank God for every live stream. Not ashamed to say that. Okay. And Wendy says she has drawn them once on a child and an old man, but she messed up and the son had to point where you went wrong. No, your work is great, Wendy. I love your work. So that's for sure. Make sure everything is looking good. Get rid of any superfluous shapes here. Like I said, those hands will develop, so it's not like I'm trying to solve the equation right away. Just work on some of these hands, some of these hairs, and we can do our little friend Blackbeard Wheat here. See that? We can get those shapes, which is great. And then we can just do some freehand lines here. It's a little bit darker right on the outside of this hair here. And like I always say, it's the adjacent shape that often describes the shape better than the shape itself. Right here, it's nice and dark, so right there. So now I'm just going to kind of erase out the areas, some of the negative shapes or the lights here in these hands at the base of her hand where the metacarpals reach the, actually when the phalanges reach the metacarpals right here. Hey Dave, how are you, sir? How are the kids this week? I know you were playing, not playing, you were being a great dad last week, and I was going to say playing Mr. Mom, that movie, but sounds like you're a great dad, so how are they doing? Is the missus back? So glad you're here, Dave. That was actually a good movie, Mr. Mom, with Michael Keaton. see here. So just developing this hand, just taking it slow, my friends. Oh, she is. Just got back Friday night. No trips to the ER plus from. That's great. That means you did an amazing job, sir. My hat off to you. So great job. Most important job in the world. One of them is being a great dad. And that's wonderful. Wonderful to see, sir. Just see, I'm just developing that hand right now, Dave. Just taking it easy, doing it slow, getting the subtle edge variations, making sure I'm compressing those values, not making the values too dark. You know, we always want to, as people, have everything like super defined, but in nature they're not always super defined, you know. Let's see, so just pull this out like so. Perpendicular and not parallel. And now you can see getting that, her beautiful hand together. And, oh, trips away don't always go that well. I'm sure they go well. You're probably being hard on yourself, my friend. Some of these edges while I'm here, while I'm at it. Like for hairs going in this direction, I'll probably do parallel and not perpendicular. But with the detail mixture, it doesn't really show up anyway, you know? Let's see. Okay, so back again with that whole stump thing that I like doing, because I don't want to spray and then say, oh, that didn't work out. So first I do this, and then I could spray it. Just like so. She has little wrinkles in her hands. So we want to get them correct. Very important to get that correct. Oh, she's leaving for all April. Oh, you're going to do great, my friend. I got faith in you. It's not going to be easy. But then again, anything worthwhile is rarely easy. So if we're going to get rid of our pencil lines, we want to make sure that we don't need them. So right here, I have a pencil line describing this negative shape. So I'm going to make sure I put that in before I get rid of this pencil line. Very, very important. Same thing here. Dave, Mr. Gregory, thank you for this super chat. I really appreciate that, my friend. Always appreciate the help, my good friend. That really makes a big difference. Last month, my super chats actually paid for my electricity and my internet. So thank you. That's a real big help, sir. And I always appreciate you. And thank you so much for that. That is so cool. And I really, really appreciate you. And, you know, really helping me to keep this going. And Nothing I would love more than to keep these live streams going without any kind of interruption and everything. And you're helping to enable that, sir. So thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Dave. Dave rocks. Okay, so come over here. Now I can get rid of some of these pencil lines. And we got a lot of work ahead of us still, but now at least we can kind of shape her fingers, make them more painterly, less linear. Oh, Dave says, thanks for sharing your knowledge with the community. My pleasure, my friend. Thank you. I love hanging out with you guys. The highlight of my week, always. And of course, we're going to be cleaning these hands up, but it's nice that we can basically get the ball rolling, so to speak. So it's important to see where the light is and where the shadow is with the fingers. That makes a big difference. And you know, whenever you're painting, I know all you artists out there know that feeling when you're getting close to the finish line. You get that anxious, that anxiety, you know, you want to finish. That's when it's imperative to slow everything down. Super imperative. And that's where I feel sometimes. And so what I want to do is make sure that I'm slowing things down before I ramp things up and make unnecessary mistakes. So right now I'm about 6 inches away, and I just want to do the outside shadow of the heel of her hand, or the back of her hand. Now I don't want to go too far before I go, wow, Dennis, thank you so much, my friend, my Texas friend, Dennis. Thank you so much for the super chat sticker. And Dennis also says, thanks for sharing your skills and knowledge. That means so much to me, sir. So, really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. So we have Dave over there in Oklahoma, which is right next to Texas. So we definitely have that south central, yes, United States thing happening. Thank you so much, sir, Dennis, for the support. That really helps so much. You know, helps with the bills and helps keep everything going. So thank you so much. South Central, yes. And always a pleasure to see you there, Mr. Dennis. And thank you so much for your kindness and your time and your friendship. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So that is so excellent. I really appreciate that. So as you can see, guys, I did some with the hand here, but I don't want to go too far because I didn't do much on the other hand. So I always want to make sure that I keep things kind of balanced, right? So we're just going to be concentrating on her hands. And then when I come in with the white pastel, the hands are really going to ramp up. So now I have some opportunity to get rid of some of these pencil lines. And then right here on her sweater here, these bumps come out a little too far. So let's see if I can kind of loosen that down a little bit. Okay, so now we have these lights here. Maybe I could And also you want to follow the grain of the skin, guys, right? Follow the grain of the skin. And that's going to go very far. So once again, Mr. Dave and Mr. Dennis, thank you so much for your generosity. I really appreciate that, guys. It means the world to me. Oh, Wendy says, didn't even think about the sweater. Yes, that little bit of the sweater there, right? Just a tiny, tiny bit. And so there's a little bit of a shadow going through the sweater. So we're just going to put that right there. There we go. See that little bit? You just see a little bit of it. And right here, just like so. So now our job is to really try and get her thumb. Not much to it. We don't have much to do, but we have to make sure we get it anatomically correct. And make sure those values aren't too far away from each other. Because again, it's really important to compress those values, right? Or as photographers say, the dynamic range. Okay, so right here. So we have a lot of very interesting hard edges here, which I love. So right here. So remember, you always want to cover what you don't want to spray. It sounds simple, but I've done it many times where I covered where I want to spray and then spray where I don't want it covered. So always just tell yourself, spray where you want it covered. And that's kind of like a hard edge right there. So I make sure I get that. And oh, look at this beautiful edge of her hand here. Perpendicular and not parallel. And 1 second rule. 1 second rule just keeps you in the game, you know? That's the main thing. Just keeping you in the game. And bring that up. And always move your freehand shield. Take your time until you find that perfect edge. Last couple of days I've been airbrushing like 8 hours a day. So, you know, I do work in oils again, but no way does that take away from, you know, how much dedication I have to the airbrush and to teaching you all. But now I can share my knowledge of the oil paints with you as well. Oh, Wendy, you would love it. Definitely. You have to. They're very freeing, but they're also they're very forgiving, very freeing, but you have to control them, right? Because they can control you, meaning that before you know it, you have a pile of oil paint and you were just trying to mix a pink and you just need a little bit and all of a sudden you have all this pink paint. So those are things you have to watch out for. And keeping everything clean. Okay. It's interesting, you know, with this hand because you don't see much of the hand, so you really have to really concentrate on the areas that you are painting. Right here again, we have this beautiful hard edge. Perpendicular and not parallel. You have to get rid of the magnets if they get in the way. Magnets are only good when they're helping you. And then we have a lot of pencil lines we need to get rid of, but like the training wheels, we don't want to take them off and crash into a mailbox. We don't want to get rid of those training wheels before we are able to be without them. Okay. Wendy says she has some paint, just got to figure out what to do. Do a nice underpainting with the India ink and the airbrush, and then just do very lightly pretending like they're pastels, and you're going to do really well. And definitely contact me if you have any questions, Wendy. And as you can see, we're just, this side you can't see it as much, but we are defining that hand. Wendy says, Tim, do you have the edge taped down? Actually, no. I just basically I have this cutout of the acetate, and I usually just go ahead and magnet down, put the magnets on. Oh, and we have a ring on this side. Let's see. Actually, I can put the magnets back. I'm painting this ring here. And some of these hairs. There we go. So yeah, so we're developing that. Now that I have my eraser, let me see if we can go ahead and develop some of these details in her sweater. Let's see what we got. Okay. And this would just be an establishment of the details, right? It's just an establishment of the details. Now remember, I waited until this dried, right? So I like the whole, I have my little 80-20 rule, is that 80% of the airbrush painting is done with the airbrush, 20% with whatever else it takes. So I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this because I want to really get in there. So you see, I can sharpen this. Yeah, so definitely. I don't like taping it down because it can tear. So I had it, doesn't always tear, but you just have to have it done once, and then you're like, no way, not going back to that, right, Wendy? And you don't gotta do you don't have to do too much when it comes to this. Just an indication of the fabric and what it's doing. And then we can always darken it later. Get rid of some of these pencil lines now, which is cool. And alright, now maybe we could put a little more detail here. Like I said, not much to do. So you guys get free sound effects. There, so then down here. Okay, so now we have her sweater, right? So let's take a look at the sweater and see if we could go ahead and work on that. Dwayne says he's back. What did he miss? I was dealing with an ex-client. Oh, cool. I hope they become a regular, a return client. So, so Dave liked the sound effects. And so let's see here. Oh, so did the client become an ex-client after they ticked you off just now? And let's see. Okay, so we do have a little bit of a design here. So this doesn't have to be like, you know, solving a really deep equation. You just pretty much have to find a unit of measurement, and then we just kind of go around. Then kind of turns as we come out here. See how we get that turn. And then these shapes get a little bit wider. Just want to create the illusion of her sweater. That way. And then this way. What's interesting is we don't see the folds over here. We have a couple of folds here, and then that's it, and then we kind of lose the folds, and then we kind of have a sequence thing happening here. But what I can do is actually put in these little triangles, and that could really help to give the illusion of this fabric. Wow, Mr. Dwayne, thank you so much, my friend, for this super chat sticker. That is great. So it's the D connection. Dwayne, Dennis, and let's see, Dwayne, Dennis, and Dave. Wow, thank you guys. That's fantastic. Look at you guys, really helping out, really just really making me really encouraged that I'm doing something right. So I really appreciate that, and it's always great to know that we are doing something right. So it's a big help to the channel, helps make ends meet, and I really appreciate it. I'm a full-time artist. Nothing else is bringing in any money. So when you guys do that, it just really feels great. Really makes me feel very, just gets rid of the stress level, you know. The triple D, that's right. That is so true. Now I'm gonna do something, because the thing is, when and this is why I make these stencils, which is so important, because I make these customized stencils, because if I go to paint it in, especially with these little triangles in here, right, it's going to look really weird. So, and also I have a real fear of actually going into her skin, and that would really wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would definitely take some time to fix. So I'm going to go back to this stencil here. Nope, because that's not covering. So we have to find a one where we are just covering her chin so we can paint in that. So hopefully we have that here. I think we do. Yes. So you see how preparation is the best way to deal with it, right? Preparation and opportunity equals success. And so right there fits perfectly. And we could go ahead and just put her right here. And really we're just caring about this edge, right? That's all we're caring about right now. John Diekman, thank you so much. 4 D's. Quadruple D's. Thank you so much, John. I really, really appreciate that. That means the world to me, guys. Honestly, thank you so much. I'm so excited, you know? I mean, it's so exciting to do something I love to do and then you guys encouraging me like that. Wow. Just means the world to me. And like I said, last month paid my gas and electric and internet. So thank you. And that means so much, takes so much stress off. And then I could, you know, really get down to the business of thinking what's going to be the best live stream next month, right? So thank you guys. And thank you always for your friendship, John Diekman, and your encouragement. It means so much. So what I'm going to be doing now, you are great, guys. So the quadruple D's. Any more D's out there? And I could see that there's like a little space in between here. And I'm just going to get that space. And of course we can come back in with the eraser and do some really cool things. But I like to have that little triangle right at the base of where her chin is, just perfectly. Oh yeah, Wendy! You hear that, Wendy? That's funny. You guys are hilarious. And just pulling that down. And let's make sure we have enough magnets. We don't want underspray. Like always, the underspray could really kind of ruin our day. And that rhymes. Underspray can ruin your day. So I want to make this three-dimensional, so I'm going to make sure that on the back side we have a shadow. There we go. So now we're feeling her sweater. So these little things, they don't have to be perfect, right? But, and it's quite dark too. So I'm going to spray that in a little bit, dust that, because it is quite dark. I had it too light. Again, the whole compressing the values thing, making sure that we are not making things too stand out, because that's what we want to do as people. We want to make things stand out, the lips stand out, everything. So we have to fix that. And then right along this edge, I'm going to do a dark shadow right along this edge. And then it gets darker. If we look at the reference, we can see right in here it gets nice and dark. And then right in here it gets nice and dark. And okay, so Wheelchair Tech Oz, how are you? Great to see you. Uh, Wheelchair Tech Oz says, my name doesn't have a D, but my wife always yelling for me with... Well, good to see you there, Wheelchair Tech Oz. Where are you from? So that's funny. And so let's see. So I'm going to lift this up. We're going to see what we have, and we're going to go from there. And as you can see, there's a lot to do. Moving around, going from one area to another, right? A lot to do. Hey, what's up, Mr. Bill Snagan? Great to see you. How are you, sir? Way to go. Love the paintings that you're doing over there. Okay, so now we see we have the beginnings of her outfit, right? And we're going to let that dry. And when we come in with white pastel, we're going to nail those little sequins that she has. So my mind is thinking in advance, right? Like a chess game. I'm several moves ahead. So that has to dry, and this other area basically has to be painted in, right? So that's important. And just taking a quick swig of some water there. So we have some new people here east of Atlanta. Wow, that's great. Go Falcons. That is so cool. So welcome, welcome. I don't remember seeing you comment, so I'm so glad you're here, and I hope to see you in coming weeks. We have a great community here. A lot of cool people, great conversations, wonderful people to meet. So thank you so much for hanging out, and welcome to the community. Okay, so I'm starting to be happy with that. We're going to get rid of those pencil lines. So remember, there are training wheels, so we don't want to get rid of them too soon. Just like when your kid is learning how to ride the bike, you don't take the training wheels off too soon, they'll crash into a mailbox. You guys ever watch that show Frasier? And Frasier couldn't ride a bike, and he actually... you know, the radio station was having some sort of charity drive, and he had to ride a bike, and he didn't know how, and he just kept going right into the mailbox. No matter what direction he was, he'd end up in the mailbox. Hitting the mailbox. So funny. One of my favorite episodes. I do love that show so much, I always wanted to go visit Seattle just for the show. Isn't that weird? Okay, so I see this beautiful edge here, right? It's just so elegant. So I want to get that. So we're going to keep it moving, Tim. Right? So right here, I'm just going perpendicular, not parallel. So why perpendicular, not parallel, Tim? Sometimes parallel is okay. But if I go parallel here, I could have the cross spraying, so I could have this edge go right into the hair where it's covering over, and that would look actually horrible, so, and unrealistic. So if we go perpendicular just a little bit, we're in definite control of where we're spraying, right? It's all about control. Just like paintbrushing, you want to control that paint, and for oil paints, and for the airbrush, you want to control this airbrush, right? And you want to control that spray pattern. Once again, we have this beautiful dark, so perpendicular and not parallel. And you don't have to do it all at once, you know. You just do that little area, assess the situation, and then go back, you know. Oh, and Bill, I love the painting of your wife. So great. And of the rose. Two amazing paintings I've been seeing you doing over there. So Bill Snagan has a live stream on Tuesday nights on Facebook. guys and girls, check it out. You'll love it. He's just amazing. Very informative, very gracious with sharing his information, and just great. There we go. So you see how we're actually getting that down like this, right? And let's see, get this edge. All right, so now we have this slight dark that comes right over here. And of course, remember, it could be anatomical, but that looks like it's a cast shadow from the hair. And then we have a wonderful cast shadow from the hair right here as well. So let's go ahead and make that happen. So you see we were doing very specific details. Now we're going back in to some of the larger light and shadow shapes. So you're always moving around back and forth. Again, perpendicular, not parallel, is always the best way. Now, why am I covering it? Because you don't want overspray in her hair. I like the fact that the hair is nice and clean, and we can even make it cleaner with some white pastel later, which would be really great. And so that's really good. We have a nice hard edge right here, perpendicular and not parallel right here. So we get that nice hard edge as it comes down here. And okay, so we do have that cast shadow coming down, just like so. Very nice. And alright, so let's see. Okay, so we worked on her hand, and this area is nice and dark. Let's see. I guess what we can do is you always look at a painting and say, okay, what am I really like neglecting? And it's definitely fair to say that we are neglecting some of these nice hair shapes. So she has blonde hair, so it's always best to try and avoid the paintbrush because those dark shapes are very soft edged and low in contrast. So let's see if we can do some of the lion's share with this detail mixture. So keep that 1 second rule going. Now her hair right here is very light, so we want to protect the light of that hair. And a lot of times the light of this hair will be defined by this area being just a little bit darker. Again, perpendicular. So the shape of the shape is often the shape of an object is often described more by the adjacent shape than the shape itself. And here is a prime example. Okay, so we have a nice dark shape here. But it's nice to be doing it with the airbrush rather than the paintbrush because blonde hair, those values are really close to one another. So we want to make sure that we get the subtlety of blonde hair, right? Very important. Bill says it looks great. Thank you so much. And Dwayne says that Bill does awesome work. He really does. Really fantastic stuff. I definitely concur with that. There we go. We lower that air pressure a little bit. There we go. So you see how we're starting to get a little definition in her hair. And we got to get rid of those pencil lines, but we have to be careful we don't make the kid crash into the mailbox. We don't take off those pencil lines too early, right? Patty, how are you all the way from Illinois? How are you? Oh, I forgot to say, Bill Snagan from New Jersey. So there's 3 Jersey people, me, Bill, and Roy. So we got that Jersey thing happening here, which is good. Jersey and Texas, those are the 2 big areas today, which is fantastic. All right, so this is really great. And let's see, where else can we bring some definition here? Mr. Paul, how are you? Great to see you all the way from Indiana. Go Irish. Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, not too far from Fort Bend, am I correct? So that's cool. And do they call you guys Hoosiers? And we have some more hairs we can define here very lightly. Ooh, we can definitely use this straight part right here. See, here you can go parallel because it's just a straight line going right into the edge. You don't have to worry about, you know, having a problem with that. So I want to get this dark right up against her hand. I'm just going to freehand this. Because we want to bring that hand forward and her hair. So we're going to darken this area right here. And then we can put some stray hairs in there as well, which would be great. So just going to really darken that pretty well here. I want that dark. There we go. So now by darkening that brings the hair, shows the shadow. A lot of good things happening once we darken this. Oh, Patty says she's up past the bedtime, cleaning the art room and working on the next round of inspiration series. Love it. And Paul says, yep, he is a Hoosier. How cool is that? And let's see. Wheelchair Tech Oz says, hair has always stumped me. Yeah, hair's not easy. I feel your pain, you know. Been doing this a long time, and one of the things, the one advice I can give you is that hair is cumulative. So work on it throughout the whole painting, and you'll get there, you know. Just do a little bit, go work on something else, come back, and before you know it, it'll all come together, you know. And Bill says, you are such a great teacher, Tim. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that, my friend. That means a lot to me coming from you, sir. And so now we are developing this area. Now, see, I almost went in and went in there, but that's a taboo. You never ever want to go ahead and erase where it's wet. It just will not be good for you. So always keep that in the back of your head. Know you're going to come back and remember what you wanted to erase. So we have this kind of errant hair here. We'll just paint that in. And again, you know, if you see that these are some really light hairs, super light hairs. See, blonde hair takes a lot of patience, and you just have to take your time. Now we can use our friend the Blackbeard wheat, right? And just put that here and just make it nice and dense and spray through it. See, that was a little too wet. So you want to make sure you don't get too wet like I did. But that's going to dry and that's going to even out and level. So no worries. So when something happens like that and it gets too wet, don't freak out. Just say, okay, I'm going to assess it And you know what's going to happen. I can come in and put some negative shapes in with the eraser once it's dry. So at first you might gasp, but always step back, assess the situation, and go from there, okay? So there you see I over wet the surface. So you don't want to do that. You know, Rome's not built in a day. Hey, Nameless, how are you? Good to see you. How's everything, sir? Always a pleasure. And Nameless is from Southern California, so I'm so glad you're here. So that is great. Look at a great group we have today. So excellent. Really fantastic. As you can see, the hair and her hands are starting to come together. Now right here you can see I have this highlight in the hand. So that means that I can definitely darken this edge shape of her hand. We definitely can make that darker and define that thumb area. And then here you can just continue to define the anatomy of her hand. And then when we come in with the erasers and everything, things will even get more defined. But we don't have to define them anyway. And remember, we're going to leave this hair for a little bit, go back into the face and maybe work on some of the anatomy, maybe work on the lips a little bit. But you notice I'm always moving around, never staying in one area too long. And you know, I think this is a good cue to, like, you know, we worked on her hands very much. And you can see how the values of the hands are very much, you know, close to one another. And that's what you want to do when they're in the beginning. You want to keep all the values pretty close, not go too dark too soon. And then we can work on the darker values and then subsequently come in with the lights and then the highlights. So that's how that works. And Nameless says he's good, just beat from work, feels like shoulders are about to fall off. Spent a day shoveling buckets full of, oh my God, that's a rough job, my friend. That is amazing. So I hope you get a chance to rest. Oh, Dwayne says for him, hair, true fire, and smoke took lots of practice before I became good at them. I agree. Hair definitely is something that you get better at, you know? And so, yeah, you do some great work there, Mr. Dwayne. No question about it. Such great resources here, you know, with artists sharing their expertise and everything like that. So what I'm finding is where I put the Create Text illustration, it's not allowing the ink to actually be absorbed as much. So it doesn't really change anything, just changes the approach. Wendy, have a great night. Always a pleasure. And don't work too hard. And so basically, I just change my approach, lower my air pressure, and make sure that I increase my distance, because the less absorbent the surface is, the more you have to make sure that you don't spider. As you can see, little by little we're developing that hair, but keeping the dynamic range close, because that's how we build things up, right? That's how we actually build them up. So right here I said I was going to leave the hair, and I think I lied. Let's see. So right here we can pull out some of the lights, because this is nice and dry here. See how the eraser pulls out some of the lights of her blonde hair? Just like so. Like I said, it's a very cumulative way of approaching this, right? I'm just moving around. Things are getting more and more detailed as we go, you know? And let's see. Good night, John. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the super chat, sir. What a great help. Thank you so very much. And don't work too hard over there in Wisconsin, John, okay? Hope to see you next week, sir. And have a great weekend. So, as we can see, we are really just developing this her hair really slowly. And also getting rid of the pencil lines, but not, we don't want to crash into the mailbox. So that's our regulars are going to know that. You don't want to crash into the mailbox, meaning, so that's going to be our code word for not getting rid of the pencil lines too early. Okay, fantastic. So loving the way that's coming out. These fingers up here, let me see. We can start getting rid of a little bit of these pencil lines here. So here's the one with the ring. So we can get rid of this. Just lighten them up. So now that we have this, maybe we can start to darken some of the larger areas of her face, larger shadow shapes, like right here. And let's see. Dwayne says, especially if you just did a killer custom painting on the mailbox. Very true, sir. And Nameless says, I've crashed into a mailbox at work right in front of the boss and the guy who owned it. Oh my God. Man. Well, thank God you're okay. I'm sure the mailbox wasn't, right, Nameless? Okay, so we can work on the shape of her eyes here, a little bit of shadow shape. Okay. Now here's something that is always important. When you have something like an eyelid, and let me blow this up and show you. One of the things I found, which is very important, and I think will help you guys and girls, is you have to ask yourself, when you're looking at this shadow shape, is the shadow on the inside or on the outside, right? And Dave says, sounds like it was special delivery. And that's pretty funny. And so right here, I can see that the shadow is on the inside, not on the outside of that eyelid. See that? So we have to definitely recognize that. And because if we put it on the outside, it's just not going to look as right. It's not going to have that really nice dimension. So it's a hard edge on the outside of the eyelid like that. And then the shadows on the inside, if that makes sense. See that? The shadows on the inside. So those are things like throughout the painting you want to ask yourself, like where is that shadow, on the inside or on the outside? So on here it's definitely on the inside. And I'm just going to make sure my reference is correct. And there we go. See how, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'll pull out the lights, but we definitely want to get that shadow on the inside of that fold, okay? Very cool. Okay, let's see what I'm missing here. Nameless says, nope, crashed like a beer can. Technically, you didn't crash into it so much as you dropped a heavy piece of equipment onto it. Thank God nobody was in that mailbox. And better the mailbox than the car, that's for sure. Dwayne says, how did you fail with the last set of storms down in South Net? Oh, yeah, so how did you do, Nameless, with all the crazy winter storms you guys been having? And then once again, we just want to make sure that we don't put too much shadow in her eye here. Get this real beautiful edge right there. And sometimes you have to reposition your custom stencil here because it moves around, gets folded up. Let's zoom out. Great. Okay. Okay. There we go. So we want that border to stay as clean as possible. We know we can't always keep it perfect, but as perfect as we can. Cleanliness is always good. And Nameless says, we're hating the storms, had to work in the rain today, also sick of all the wind. You guys are getting a lot of wind, huh? In South California. Wow. We have been having the wind in Central California, Dwayne says as well. That's something. Wow. Okay, so pretty cool. So let's look at the other eyelid. So we were happy with that eyelid. I'm not going to do any erasing in the eyelid. It's still too wet. So what I'm going to do is move on over to the other eye. And again, if I zoom in to show you all, the shadow is on the inside of the eyelid. And I think I got that pretty good here. But let's double check. Okay. Let's see. I don't know why my Alexa is going off. Alexa, stop. There we go. So we're keeping that nice hard edge. So on the outside of the upper eyelid, we are not getting any shadow, but the shadow's on the inside. I already have the shadow there, so I could come in with the eraser and I can just put in the lighter areas here. So that will work. Just a little bit lighter here. There we go. And right here we have the little ridge of the upper eyelid here. There we go. Really accentuate that if we can. And then over here as well. Just want to bring out that kind of ledge there. There's like a little ledge, and we want to bring that out. And it's quite wide here, so we want to make sure we're not too chintzy with that shape. There we go. Very good. And then over here, we'll just bring this out. Same thing here. We'll just make sure we kind of get that kind of translucency of her eye here the best we can. And of course, when we come in with the white pastel, that's really going to pop. So we're looking forward to that. And let's see what I missed. Oh, Wendy says Huz goes off for no reason. And Nameless says they've had up to 70-mile-per-hour winds last week, even stole his doormat. Wow, that's scary. And Very cool. So just like the hair, right? You kind of, it's kind of something you're working on throughout the whole painting. And the same thing. So there's this light modifier here. No time like the present. Let's see if I could, it's a round light modifier, probably like a beauty dish on the flash of the photo. See how I'm kind of plowing the field for that light modifier. Because that's going to come, that's going to be like really, probably one of the brightest areas in the whole painting. So you see how I'm kind of plowing the field for that. And then since I did it in that eye, let's move on over to the other eye. Great. And let's go ahead and put that in. It's funny, it's called a catch light in the photography world, but usually you can see what lighting they had, what kind of flash, how many flashes. So it looks like there is this light modifier and a small flash right there. So it's kind of like a fill flash to fill in the shadows. Otherwise the shadows would have been too dark. So that's really interesting. And let's see. Dwayne says they had a day of strong gusts and rain, but mostly just lots of rain and snow. Wow, for 2 days, that's amazing. And then Mr. Bill says, Tim, what is the new mixture that Honey mentioned to me? Oh, it's a detail mixture. And I should send you some of that. And it's a much lighter mixture than the light mixture. And it's really great in the beginning because it allows you to really get the ultimate control when you are, setting things up. So I'm going to make some and send them to you, sir. And you see now, if I zoom out, you definitely see how just the catch lights, even though, they're not as light as they are, you can see how that kind of brings life to it, and let's see. So Dave says that he got a new trampoline in the backyard on Sunday night. Monday morning, you told the neighbor if he wanted them back. Oh man, the gate was open. So, wow. So the trampoline went to the neighbor's house? Oh, the neighbor's trampoline. That is wow, went right over the gate and everything. And the pool was there too. Their pool? Oh my God. And oh, you're very welcome there, sir. And Dave says 80-mile-per-hour winds. Yeah, we get that a lot on the East Coast, during hurricane season. So I feel your pain. And that's just dangerous, trees and stuff like that. And now that I'm here, I'm just going to work on some of the little designs in her eye there. What I like to do is I take this and I take my X-Acto blade, if I can find it. See that? What happens is the magnet gets on things that are metal and I never find them. So it was on my X-Acto blade. So I'm going to cut this at a 45-degree angle with my X-Acto blade. And now I can get like really thin designs here. And again, this is something that's cumulative, right? We're going to come back, do different layers, that sort of thing. And then let's go to her other eye. Whatever we do on one eye, we have to do on the other eye, of course. Just little designs. There we go. And since we're here, let's see if we could go ahead and darken that pupil, okay? And like I said with the hair, same thing with other areas of the painting. You're just slowly developing it, right? Just slowly. There we go. And let's see. Oh, thanks, Dwayne. Dwayne says, really starting to pop. I appreciate that. And Bill says, great expression on her face. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And Nameless says, he's seen that kind of looks like a UFO landing in your backyard, meaning the trampoline. Wow, that's true. Could you imagine that? That's scary. So what I'm going to do is it's a little bit more of a shadow here. So let's zoom out a little bit. A little bit more of a shadow. Not much, but we want to make sure that we just very slightly just a little bit. We have some pencil lines, not ready to get rid of them yet, you know, just not ready yet. And everything looks okay here. Maybe we can extend this edge. There we go, bring that down just a tad. And okay. Okay, you know, I always like to share different techniques of, you know, that are helpful to you. So she has some really beautiful lower eyelids. They're very light lower eyelid lashes. And so I'm going to do that with the detail mixture. I may have to go darker, but let me get the lid of one of my cups. So these lids are really great. You know, the cups, we use the cups, but a lot of times we don't use the lids. Don't throw them out. They could be great for doing little things like this. So we'll start off with the detail mixture straight. And make sure it's far away from your painting. Just put a little tiny bit there. And now I'm going to get my liner brush. Love this brush. It is the Winsor & Newton Cotman brand. It's the cheaper of their brushes, but it's a 333 rigger brush. It's a number 1, and I really like it, especially for eyelids. I'm fixated with eyelids, ain't I, guys? Eyelashes. The detail mixture may be a little light. Actually, it is light. We may have to move on over to the medium mixture. Okay, no, let's go ahead and zoom right in. Let's make this happen, guys. Okay, so when I have to zoom in because, okay, so we have to pay attention. So we're going to come right here. And just kind of start it out. And then what's funny is it's not really funny, but it starts and then it begins again. She has these really beautiful long eyelashes. So I kind of like the detail mixture, changed my mind. So one of the things I do when I have, let's say, the detail mixture, I do like a dry brush. So I'll take some of the moisture and get rid of it. So it's kind of like a dry brush technique. So first, just like the airbrush, I start out with a dot, and then from that dot, that's my origin, then I come out and I want to make sure that I am not making them equidistant and the same size. And that's another proclivity we all have, right? We all want to make it equidistant like bricks. And that's not the way nature works. Nature is controlled chaos sometimes. There we go. And adding mascara, yes. And Dave says he heard something back there but couldn't open the door. So, oh man, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah, so it was like, what was that? Oh, it's just a trampoline. Oh, okay. Okay, right here. That's a little weird one. So I'll just leave it there. Sometimes we mess up. There we go. There's one coming right off to the left. Come like that. This one comes down. And then there's a bunch of them that are kind of overlapping. Let me make sure. And I want to get the angles. So the angles are important. So I have to get those angles correct. And I can make some lighter and some darker. That always works. Dwayne was going to say about the mascara. And let's see, right over here. Again, with the angles, right? Got to get those angles correct. And let me move on over to right here. And then they get really sparse, like all of a sudden. There's a couple over here. First get the dot. You know why to do the dot first? Because then it's easier from the dot to get the direction. Because you have a point of departure. So let's see how it looks. Not bad, right? It's so I'm happy with it. It could be better, but not bad, right? So let's go on over to our other eye, and we'll get them, and then we'll see if we have time to work out the some of the eyelashes on the upper eyelid. Okay. So this is camera left here. I would be good at doing makeup. Be a good way to meet women, that's for sure. I guess I never heard that pickup line before. Hey, can I do your rouge? I imagine. At this point in my life, I could use anything. Dwayne said, I really should start incorporating a little brushwork into my stuff. It's a lot of fun, you know? And, you know, I just like it because I'm getting into oil painting and everything. So it's always good practice. Not better, just different. And same thing, you want to do that dot and then And pretty soon I can get rid of the pencil lines, right? So the pencil lines will be going soon. And the same thing as it's like, you know, we're able to go ahead and as we're doing this, we're able to go ahead and just refine like the hair. So we get that. I like to just do that dot and then just flick out. But we have to make sure, above all things, that we do not make them equidistant or same size. Eric says, Tim, sometimes you will do a video or add on to your online class of how you come up with the line drawing for a portrait. Yes, so it is on my online course. Oh, okay, yes. I am going to do I will do an online class on the line drawing and how in depth I go, because I definitely have a definite technique, Eric, and definitely want to share it with you guys. That's information that, now if you do take my online, if you take my mentorship course right now, I'll go over that with you. So like for the first month of my mentorship course, mentorship program, I go over everything. But I am going to come up with an online course, definitely. Do you guys think that would be something that would be interesting to you guys? Just as a side note. Okay, so I like the way the paintbrush really bring that. Instead of brushes, I always use dip pens. Wow, that's really cool. And Nameless says, Tim's got options. If this doesn't work for him, he can open a beauty... Yeah, that's true. Wow, that's a good idea. Think of all the phone numbers I'll get. You know, I had it all wrong. I should have done something like that when I was a young guy. Too late. Youth is always wasted on the young, right, everybody? So now I have the ability, since I'm here, let me zoom in even further so I could really sharpen that focus. There we go. When I come in with that white pastel, everything's really going to come to life, hopefully. So right here. Oh, it'd be good if I zoomed in, right, Tim? Okay. All right, so we might not get away with this detail mixture here, but let's see. Very cool. So we're at 11:24. We're getting to the end of this live stream, but I think it ramped up really nice. So that's cool. We went over some really good information here, and I'm glad I was able to share what I'm doing with the paintbrush to get these really beautiful eyelashes. And the thing is, make sure we pay attention to the direction and the spaces of the eyelashes. It's just so crucial. And one thing is so sad when people do the caterpillar eyelashes. You know, at all levels I see that. So we have to make sure we stay with that. Brad says, looking great, Tim. Thanks for another great live stream. Thank you, my friend. Have a great night, Brad. Love the website you're working on. Go to bjmfineart.com. Check out Brad's website. It's really amazing. The guy is doing some amazing work. Wendy, have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. So we have our final 5 minutes. So hopefully we could go over some really cool detail within those 5 minutes. And let me see if I go on the inside of her eye here. We just have a little, tiny little hair here. There we go. Right here. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, cool. Wendy says site looks great. That's fantastic. Thanks for checking that out, Wendy. And Dennis, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. And I hope you have a great rest of the week. Be careful tomorrow with the tornadoes. Stay safe. You too, Wendy. And here's a great opportunity where I can kind of get the crease of her eye there. That beautiful hard edge. I can do it. Dwayne says, great times in art, Tim. Really enjoyed my Wednesday evening relaxing here. I enjoyed your company, Dwayne. Thank you so much for the super chat sticker. I really, really appreciate it. And even more, I appreciate you spending your time and hanging out here with me. Thank you. And like I said, my Wednesdays are really special because of you all. Just taking the time out to hang out with me. I really, really, really appreciate that. Oh, Mr. Bill, thank you so much. And thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Oz, so great that you're here. And I appreciate you're here. And definitely next Wednesday at 9:30. Always a pleasure. It's really fun to meet you. And you are out of the Atlanta area. Did I get that right? Hopefully. But I will get it right. It's still early, so each time it comes to me. And Todd says, Tim, I need to make time to watch the class, then start the project. Yes, definitely. So Todd purchased the online course. You can see that in the, it's the pinned comment on top. It's also in the description. If you have any questions, anyone that takes the course, they can always, whether you take the course or not, you can always just contact me. I'll answer any questions. But if you have any questions with the course, please let me know. And that, just email me at anybody, paintedglyphs@gmail.com. You have any questions, it's such a pleasure and an honor to help. Yes, Atlanta, I got it right, Oz. Thank you. I appreciate that. So that's cool. And so always nice to hang out with you as well. Nameless, thank you so much for hanging out. And I hope the work gets easier, and rewarding and everything like that. You deserve it. And we are at 11:29, so that means it's close. But we paint until the final minute. Well, if I'm not feeling well, then I don't think I will paint to the final minute, but I'm feeling okay, thank God. And take care, Mr. Bill. Thank you so much. And Nameless, have a great night. Thank you so much. And Dwayne and Dave out there, thank you so much for the super chat sticker. I really appreciate that. Just helps out immensely. It really does, like a godsend. Thank you, everybody, for your support and hanging out and making Wednesdays just amazing. So let's see what we have. Okay, so this young lady, not bad. She's starting to look even more surprised. And that's what we want, the emotional portrait. So next week's going to be number 6. How many weeks? We don't know. We're just going to paint until we finish her, but I'm not going to do anything I'm not going to do anything off camera, so you're going to be able to see the whole process. That's really important. Everybody, thank you so much. I hope to talk to you soon. Have the best weekend and look forward to next Wednesday. Take care, everybody.